Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is April 19th. Did you say 19th? 18th?
19th.
19th. Today's April 19th. We're doing business and social links to share with your friends. Social? Can't talk. Something happened between this episode and the last one, and now I can't talk.
Well, get yourself together because we have to talk about the collapse. Now, fortunately, the collapse section is getting smaller and smaller. Seems like the crises are lessening, and that's good. But usually the people at the top are the last ones to admit something is wrong. So this is a little alarming.
Fed staff expects banking crisis to cause a recession this year. But this is a weird headline because the guy that's in charge of all that staff said, no, everything is fine.
Aren't we kind of already in a recession? It certainly feels like it.
No. They said it looks like a recession, and it might actually, like the stuff we used to say was a recession, it might be exactly that, but it's not.
It's not a recession.
Yeah.
So what's it going to be if it gets worse?
I've
Mild recession.
I've noticed that flash memory has gotten insanely cheap. Is that a sign of way too much inventory?
Yeah.
And the things that come with a recession?
Yeah, in fact, we'll talk about that because some chip makers, they really ramped up production and they might be regretting that at this point. But it also might have something to do with this because, we like to think about the market being, this huge machine that sort of like feeds itself and does that. But the really critical part, the consumer. Someone has to buy all that garbage. And in order to buy all that garbage, they have to have jobs and money.
U.S. bank lending slumps by most on record in the final weeks of March. I think maybe it's the crushing interest rate that people would have to endure after decades of like 2% interest or less.
Literally people who've never experienced anything but zero rates.
Yeah.
And now this is a splash of cold water in their faces. And the rest of their bodies too, I imagine.
Also, what about credit cards? When they were 0%, your credit card rate was like 29% plus whatever the Fed rate was. And so now it's like, wait a minute, my credit card rate is like 35% now. What's going on?
I never carry a balance, so I don't even think about my credit card rates. I don't care what they are. But Amazon sent me or Chase, the Amazon card people, sent me a letter. And it was like, oh, by the way, we're raising this. And it was like 36% or something like that. I was like, wow. How can anybody deal with that? And the answer is they can't.
Yeah.
They're getting crushed.
What is it when you owe the bank $100, you've got a problem? When you owe the bank $1 million, the bank's got a problem? Something like that.
Yeah, it's something like that where it reaches a point where the bank can't handle that anymore.
It seems like that's going hand in hand with this collapse.
Certainly played out with the FTX stuff, didn't it? I mean, he's going to have some problems.
I saw did we include the article where they got the new people in charge of FTX have managed to claw back like $7 billion?
I think that's in here, yeah.
But first, let's talk about more problems and more of the reasons why we're having all these issues. And the reason that the money is not flowing the way it used to is people just simply aren't affording these things.
Global PC shipments dropped by 1/3 in Q1. Everybody's waiting for the next big thing, right? Right?
I mean, there's probably a little bit of that, but also I don't have the money to go out and buy a bunch of new parts.
They're waiting for the next paycheck so they can eat.
Yeah.
So Apple took a big hit here, but everybody did poorly. People just don't want to refresh yet. Plus, a lot of people bought during the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Because they were kind of forced to, or they were going to work from home or whatever, build a new office. And they're thinking, I don't need to refresh. Don't need to at all. And they're not refreshing their phone either, which is what is causing this most likely.
Samsung to cut chip production as profits plunge by 96%.
That is an insane number.
Well, that's how it is in the semiconductor business. They've got all the inventory. It's not like they haven't lost the assets. It's just that they're going to have to sell the assets at fire sale.
And they really ramped up because for years, everybody was like, we have to have more chips. We're running out of chips and the world is going to end. This whole supply chain being as sensitive as it is this is inevitable.
Yeah.
There's always going to be the pendulum swinging back and forth. God help us when it goes back in the other direction, though.
Yeah.
Well, even the most sophisticated semiconductor fabrication processes on planet Earth, you're still like a 45 to 90 day ramp time, and the materials mid-cook will not wait.
But the consumer can.
Yeah.
Indefinitely.
Yeah.
In most cases. I mean, maybe 6-7 years they'd have to buy a new phone. But certainly not that every year cycle that we had back in the glory days. And Amazon, one of their big things is they want to make shopping online as easy as shopping in person, or easier, in fact. And they give you a lot of concessions, but when times get hard, they start to pull those back.
Amazon is starting to charge a fee for some returns amid a crisis that's costing retailers millions every year. I looked into this though, and I thought it was kind of a nothing burger. They only charge
It's
you
$1.
They charge you $1 if you drop it off at a UPS store, only a UPS store, and only if you had some other way other than a UPS store to drop it off.
Within like I think it was 30 miles to your home location.
Yeah.
Which is more about them freezing out UPS than anything else.
Yeah.
Because if you drop it off at Kohl's or some other local Whole Foods, I guess.
Yeah, Kohl's I was confused by. I understood Whole Foods, but I was like, why Kohl's?
No, they partnered with Kohl's a long time ago. And so if you drop them off there, an Amazon van's going to come and get it. But at the UPS store, obviously UPS is like, no. If we're going to partner with you, we're going to bring our trucks.
Kohl's is probably angling to become Amazon's showroom, and they just couldn't agree on a number.
Are you going to be able to use Kohl's Cash on Amazon soon?
Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Didn't realize there was this thing called Kohl's Cash.
You don't remember that? When back to school shopping, you'd get like the coupon in the mail. It was like Kohl's Cash.
When they built the new Kohl's here, I went one time to see what it was about, and I was like, yeah, that's not fair.
It's just like a little department store. It's nothing fancy.
I was recently in Kohl's and looking for a shower curtain rod because it's time for new shower curtain rods. And it was $40. And I said, nope.
Just get it on Amazon.
Yeah.
I haven't been into a Kohl's in probably 5 years.
Literally the exact same shower curtain rod was $8 on the internet.
And even if that's counterfeit, it'll still probably work.
It worked fine. It's great.
Yeah.
Rubber, I was worried because sometimes you get, and it's like, because like the ends have to be made out of rubber to grip the sides of the wall and blah, blah, blah. And works really well. I miss my old shower curtain rod though. Which
Was it the curved one? Those are great.
It was the curved one, and it's screwed in the wall.
Oh, so it was super sturdy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know where I got it or how it works, but finding a replacement that's less than $100 has been a challenge.
Well, one replacement that was easy to find was a better CEO than Sam Bankman-Fried. Literally just throw a rock. Just go outside and,
Literally any idiot off the street.
Yeah, just go to a homeless camp. They're all more qualified. And they did find one, and he has been able to do some impressive things.
Bankrupt crypto exchange FTX has recovered $7.3 billion in assets. I read this, and the defense, Sam Bankman-Fried's defense, hasn't put the case together yet, but dollars to donuts, what this guy has done, the defense is going to make the case that the company was actually fine and that this was a stealth hostile takeover.
Except they lay out all the things that he did wrong. And the other thing here is they talk about starting the new company, and they're like, yeah, we're not sure how that's going to affect the people who actually have the deposits.
Yeah.
Which, how does that not get resolved first?
It's not a bank. That's why I thought that the defense case, they're making the defense's case for them, because what they propose to do with the recovered assets is to make investors whole first, not people who, ordinary people that were using these change. The people that Larry David was trying to reach in the TV commercial, or Matt Damon. Those people are last. And because of that, isn't this worse, or at least as bad as what SBF is accused of?
Nah, not even close. No.
It's going to be a hell of a defense. This is going to be amazing. I can't wait.
Well, I don't have them all together here. I think I ended up putting this in the hardware section, the others in the software section. I should put them all together, but it's the old Google Reaper. And oh boy, has he been busy. He's had to just keep sharpening his scythe day after day.
It's just dull from all the kills he's got.
His elbows, he's got like serious arthritis in his elbows because he's just swinging.
Google will shut down Dropcam and Nest Secure in 2024. You get a 1 year notice, and they're going to not work anymore.
Now, most of this stuff was pretty old, but if you went all in on your Google Home.
Yeah, you say it's pretty old, but there's a thermostat in my house that's 80 years old that still runs a modern heat pump system.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when stuff in your home, you expect it to last a long time. Google doesn't. But you might have been foolish enough to.
This article also says is like, well, they kept their promise of making it last 5 years, and it's like, dude,
Wow.
Oh,
So
thanks.
generous.
yeah. There's we've got the level 1 series on the DIY home alarm thing, and you did the software defined radio. Those are 20-year-old sensors, and they are showing no signs of letting up.
And I'll tell you what, now that I know what to look for, every business uses
Yeah.
that same thing.
Yeah.
And they have for years and years and years, and they will continue to because they're cheap and they work.
And ironically, Google is giving you a free coupon for an ADT system, which guess what? It uses the same sensors, but an encrypted, slightly crappier version that makes it hard for you to use it on not ADT system, which is, of course.
But still not very secure.
No.
I think someone in the comments mentioned that it didn't have motion detection either. Maybe
And you can buy motion detectors that do that same bandwidth.
whatever Google is supplying doesn't.
Oh,
maybe.
their
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, I'm sure the new one does.
Yeah, a lot of these modern systems, they throw in a camera in there, and they're like, we can do motion detection by analyzing an image. It's like a $2 infrared motion sensor that has like the little prism reflector is going to outperform any software based, even the Chinese ones, which are actually really good. That little infrared detector is miles better.
It's good at detecting motion, yes, but not harvesting data.
Right. So again, you got to DIY it. You got to DIY your Internet of Things. Level 1's here to help you do that. Check out our old videos. I get my Iron Fireman controlling my heat pump. It's awesome.
And Intel I think they've seen what's coming and they're looking to adapt to it. They're looking to open up the fabs.
Intel to work with ARM on chip manufacturing compatibility. Well, obviously, because Intel needs to work.
So up until this point, they didn't do anything like that, but they say, hey, we've got all kinds of capacity. Bring your arms on over here. Get in this water. And we've got a new video card, and some people are saying, like, finally, maybe we're getting some reasonable prices again. This one is
No, it's boiling frog.
This one is not as good as the next step up by a long shot.
Nvidia announces the RTX 4070, a somewhat reasonably priced desktop GPU. That's the headline. $600 is not somewhat reasonably. 600. It's the 4080 and the 4070 Ti are wildly overpriced. The 4090 is in a class by itself, so it's like, okay, it costs a fortune, but it's in a class by itself. Maybe that's why. But the 4070 feels cheap in the hand. It feels like an inexpensive card. It should not cost $600.
That's funny that that's what they ran with as the headline too. Like, it's reasonably priced.
Well, I'm sure they got some press material.
I'm also genuinely impressed that the card can perform really well at 1440, but is hobbled in such a way that it will also not perform at 4K. Because, it's like, okay, a AAA title you could run at 1440, but like an esports title at 4K should be like a billion FPS. That's not the case here with the 4070. That takes an impressive amount of engineering to be able to do that. If you had the 3080, like you got a 3080 or like the 6800, which is a little cheaper from AMD, those run great at 4K, and they also run about the same speed at 1440. Well, the 6800 actually is faster. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I'll have some videos on that soon.
I would say now is still not the time to buy a video card if you can wait. Just like cars
Or
and phones.
If you get a good deal on a used mining card that seems like it's in good shape, that would be like $300-400. That'd be the way to go if you really need a graphics card.
The other thing that is still apparently difficult to get is the Raspberry Pi. Still a hot piece of technology. Maybe with the chips piling up, everything will get better. But maybe, again, now is not the time to buy one because the next model is going to have a huge improvement.
Sony backs the maker of tiny Raspberry Pi computers with fresh funding and access to AI chips. Yeah, Sony is opening their portfolio. Not just, turns out, that's where a lot of the Raspberry Pis are made in the UK. Sony's got some facilities there, so it's kind of, this makes sense.
It's going to be for visual stuff. So like any kind of visual processing AI stuff, it's going to be tailored to that. So you can build little camera projects that do AI stuff.
Raspberry Pi global shutter camera project is also very neat.
And we've already talked about this, but they had a demo and they showed off how it all works. And it's pretty impressive. It seems like they have done what they claimed.
Walmart plans its own EV charger network at U.S. stores by 2030.
Oh, this is the wrong article.
Oops.
I was talking about the automation thing.
Oh, yeah. this I thought was going to happen at Sam's Club. We went over
And Walmart.
We went over a leak for this like a year ago, and it was like Sam's Club. This doesn't make sense. No, it's literally just the random podunk Walmart's probably going to get this.
But only 4 per location. That's not very many.
They might expand it out if it does well.
The thing that this article missed is that's enough to qualify for the federal subsidy.
Got him.
course.
Yeah. I still love the idea. I think I included an article about this a long time ago about like putting solar panels over parking lots.
Oh, you mean it's like shade for the
Yeah,
cars?
it's shade structure for the car, and then it generates power for the store.
Oh, Walmart was keeping an eye on, I think it was Meyer or somebody that was doing that. Not the shade structure, but the solar panels on the roof, and the number of fires on the roof that introduced was
Because they use those crappy solar companies.
yeah, it was untenable according to the report that I saw.
And by crappy solar companies, I mean Elon Musk. And that's a great segue into this because it's all about the batteries, right? Whenever we have all that capacity, you got to store it somewhere. But batteries can be used up, and then we just kind of just throw them in the creek, and that's not good for the environment. So this had to happen.
One of the biggest battery recycling plants in the U.S. is finally up and running. Ascend Element's new recycling center in Covington, Georgia.
Oh,
Used
But we're getting one in Kentucky.
did you see there's a map in this article it's in whitehouse.gov,
Please tell me it's downstream, not upstream.
and it's like
There's no map.
there's a link to a map
Oh.
about like all the different what's the word I'm thinking of? Industrial, that's it. Industrial development. And if you look all through like Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, it's all battery stuff.
Yeah. I think Hopkinsville, Kentucky is not this kind of plant that they're talking about here, but the whatever comes out of this plant, which they call black mass.
Ooh.
The black mass goes to the next stage up to be turned into, it's like Factorio.
It should be like black ooze.
Our Hopkinsville will use the green research, whereas this is blue research.
Okay.
I was going to say that these companies found that the coal mining industry has already gutted our environmental protection laws, which made it more convenient.
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah, just throw your batteries here. It's fine. Store them outdoors.
They're already, they've already adapted to the horrible stuff in the water.
What did you do with the waste? Oh, we rented this abandoned mine. What's not to love?
Isn't that in the water table? We fixed that.
It's actually below the water table, so it's safe. And it's like,
X doubt.
And I suspect that Microsoft, of course, Microsoft's got telemetry on everything.
Yeah.
So they figured out that almost nobody was using this, but some people are still going to be upset.
Microsoft set to change the print screen button so it opens the Snipping Tool in Windows 11.
Ew.
There wasn't anything in this announcement about making the start menu less awful and useless.
Why would they do this to me?
No, they like what they're seeing from the start menu telemetry. It's like, oh, they're clicking ads.
Our shareholders actually believe this adds value. Keep doing it.
I included this one because this is like a fun, real world example of the banana sticker.
Yeah.
This is the ultimate where the banana sticker goes.
Better camouflage is needed to hide from new electronic sensors. We've got really good optical camouflage, but a thermal camera, it's going to see
There are no
you.
secrets. Yeah.
So they have some gear that has little tiny flakes of copper baked into it, which apparently reflects heat back towards you. And they've also got smart plates that you can put on your tanks and such that will change temperature and change your
Oh.
thermal gradient.
It doesn't look like a tank-shaped blob anymore.
The problem is all of that stuff is astonishingly expensive. And Ukraine is the sandbox in which we're learning about this, and they can't even afford to buy missiles and mortars. So
I'm looking through my binoculars, and all I see is an empty field with low brush and grass. But I look through the thermal, and there's a field of caribou out there. What does it mean? It's like, for God's sakes, Jenkins, get down!
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Jenkins, the Ukrainian soldier, the traditional Ukrainian name. And here is a device that doesn't seem that useful, but when I read this, I'm like, oh God, the surveillance possibilities.
Yeah.
This is going to be in every police interview room.
Researchers built sonar glasses that track facial movements for silent communication. The prototype reads silent commands with around 95% accuracy.
Basically, you're just going to look like you're talking to yourself all the time, but you're not actually talking.
Sometimes I do though.
I do that, yeah.
And then it's probably like feeding my dark thoughts that I'm talking to myself back to somebody.
This person says a lot of swear words when they're stuck behind someone at the DMV.
They're not the most attractive glasses. I guess you need that downward facing sensor.
Yeah, well, yeah, if it's sonar. How will this affect the bats?
Have you read about I think we talked about that, where they deafen the whales with oil research.
Oh.
Maybe we didn't talk about that, but the way they look for oil in the ocean is they send like a depth charge into the ground, and that explosion will just pop whales' eardrums. And then we just got deaf whales like banging into stuff because that's how they navigate.
Oh, that's an unfun fact. Unsubscribe. I don't want the unfun
Animal
fact.
facts.
Yeah.
How do you feel about cloning people with AI?
I feel negatively about that.
So does all of the music industry.
Streaming sites urge not to let AI use their music to clone pop stars. Record label Universal urges Spotify and Apple Music Group to stop copycat scraping song data. Yes, this is coming. The AI apocalypse, the thing that we predicted, the Disney, get everybody riled up, that's coming. AI is kind of weaponizing this copyright maximalization against these companies, and they are not having it. It's like they created this whole mess in the first place.
It's an interesting argument. I mean, I think it's obvious from a human perspective that it shouldn't be this way, but they're arguing that letting your AI listen to music is the same as copying music. In terms of, like, that's what they want in terms of copyright.
Who's the famous German guy that has the black and white stuff, Von Braun or something?
Von Braun was the rocket guy.
No, it was, well, that's not it.
I'm not sure.
He had the clock with the iconic, like the red second hand or something, but everything else was black and white. But it was a famous like super minimalist German thing. It's like, does he own all of that? Like, okay, he owns the clock and the font, but does he own just the idea of that super minimalist whatever? Because that's the trajectory they're angling for. They want everything that sounds vaguely like Britney Spears.
But everything in the pop world sounds vaguely like Britney Spears.
Exactly.
Like, humans have been copying other people's music since music existed.
The memos from the 80s literally say there's only going to be 4 companies that cross-license everybody else's stuff. No one else is going to be able to make music because they're going to control all the sounds. That was the business plan.
And it worked until we got like media that perfectly copied it, and it was easy for us to control. And then we got the digital music, and then now we're here. And they don't matter anymore, but somehow they persist.
Yeah. So this must be stopped.
Well, let's go back and revisit the Google Reaper. And these are all the software versions of the bloody, pulpy messes laying on the ground that used to be products.
Google will shut down Currents, the work-focused Google Plus replacement. Why? Because no one used it.
I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, I don't even remember. I remember when Google Plus went down and everybody was like, thank God. I didn't realize that they actually tried to replace it with something. So no one's probably going to miss that one. I don't think many people will miss this one.
No.
Google Assistant shutdowns. Third-party smart displays are dead because we couldn't come up with a network standard to just display stuff over the network. Like, if it was a network display, what would there be to kill if there was a standard? Oh, wait, it's got to run telemetry software. That's why it's dying.
And there's got to be a case study of like one of the fastest deaths of a kind of product ever was the smart assistant.
Yeah.
Because once ChatGPT emerged, all smart assistants don't matter anymore.
I would go one farther and say that smart assistants promised to be ChatGPT, and it took somebody else coming up with what they were supposed to be to actually do it, even despite all these companies having large language models they used internally. How dysfunctional do you have to be to screw up that badly?
Or were they sandbagging on purpose because it was going to destroy all their products? Because remember, Google was like, I don't believe this, but they said, we could do that, but we don't want to. We felt it would be disruptive. And oh boy, it was disruptive.
Oh, the disruption have only just begun.
I've not yet begun to disrupt, says ChatGPT. And Google also has some older products which are having some issues. I like their approach to this one, though, because it's like when you were in school and the teacher got something wrong on the homework,
Yeah.
everybody should still get credit.
Bank error in your favor. Google Pay bug bounty accidentally sends users free money. Google's like, we asked for the money back, but if we don't give it back, we're not going to pursue it.
It
It's
was up
fine.
to $1,000.
They didn't ask for it. They took it. They took it back. But if you had already spent it or removed it from your account, they're not going to come after you. So the pro tip here is always flush that money out of your Google account. You never know when you get to keep it.
It's not like it was millions of dollars either, but it's just like, oh, come
It
on.
was up to 1,000.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not a trivial amount of money.
Yeah, that could be a big difference for some people. And we keep hearing about the amazing things that the AI can do, but we don't get a lot of information about how exactly they do it, which makes this even more terrifying.
Developer creates quote unquote regenerative AI program that fixes bugs on the fly. Wolverine can experiment and fix Python bugs at runtime and rerun the code.
But that's not quite Wolverine. It's the outfit's not correct. Do you think that's AI generated?
I think that's
Wolverine.
to avoid
Oh.
any kind of copyright
No,
law.
they an AI generated and human composited image of Wolverine programming on a computer. So that's definitely AI generated.
But for the purposes of copyright, I would point out it is distinct enough from the what is it, DC Comics, Marvel Comics? I don't know.
I bet
It's not Marvel, I don't think.
I bet the human part was making the PCB in his maroon parts of his outfit there.
X-Men might be Marvel, actually.
X-Men is Marvel.
Is it? Okay. Just trying to think. There was some sort of licensing problem though, where they couldn't put the X-Men in like the big Marvel movies, right?
Sony, I think. It's like Spider-Man. I think
Yeah.
Sony still has it because they were making those movies before the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And speaking of cinematic universes, all the pluses, everybody had the plus, but HBO is now going to buck the trend. They're also going to change it again. How long did that even exist?
Like
a couple
2
of
years, maybe.
HBO Max to be renamed to just Max, but they're going to add Discovery Plus content, and the launch date and pricing have been revealed.
So it doesn't change too much, but they are adding the Max Ultimate ad-free, $20 a month. Oh, Max Ad Lite is that's per year. I know that's the cheapest one. You
That's-
get
all
Discovery.
these subscriptions services, they're so pricey.
Ridiculous. Let's keep going up. Still a Wordle player?
Yeah.
Did you
play
play
Wordle
today?
every day. I did. I think I played like right at midnight.
How
so
many
I've done
tries?
3.
That's a pretty good score, right?
That's
We get
pretty-
5?
Yeah. Or yeah, 5, I think.
I mean, it's less than 50%. It'd be a failing grade.
Yeah. But I feel good if I get it in less than 3.
Well, will you be trying the new version?
The New York Times debuts Digits, the math version of Wordle. Probably not. I don't usually like math number games. Was never into Sudoku.
So here you get a number of numbers,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to find how many. Six digits, and then you get a goal number, and you insert operators in between those digits to get to the goal number.
No, I can't do that. That would just make my. I mean, I could, but it would take me entirely too long.
I'm pretty sure I played that when it was called Algae Blaster.
Yeah, there were some older games that were like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I found. Oh, sorry. Continue.
No, I'm just saying like those shareware games. We could Frog Fractions. You ever play that? That was the one that had the special like game within a game.
Did you just play Math Blasters as a kid?
Yeah, I did
I
play
remember Math
Blasters.
Blasters.
I mean, that was just all in the school, right?
Yeah, school games. I was thinking I've been playing a crosswordle where it's like a crossword but Wordle.
Who owns that?
I'm not sure. There's like 20 clones of it. I played the first one that comes up. Also good.
Well, if you're into math games, maybe give it a try. Or maybe play the open source version that somebody's going to clone and not the New York Times evil
Yeah.
version. And if you are like Wendell and in your spare time, you just have Star Trek on in the background at all times, but even though you don't watch it, you still complain about the video quality upscaling
It's your comfort watch.
But the Ultimate Collector will have to have this.
For the first time, you can watch every Star Trek movie in 4K HDR. 13 Star Trek movies are available in 4K, Dolby Vision, and Dolby Atmos.
But here's the thing. Would you consider Desert Island, you can only choose one. Would you prefer to have all the movies or the next generation?
Next gen.
I thought so. Which they still haven't done that for, right?
Yeah. But the AI, like just doing it yourself, is not completely awful. And it's gonna get better. See also the Balenciaga stuff.
And You know what? You can
That song slaps in those videos.
you can say the same joke that people have made about the Godfather movies all the time. You watch the good movies before J.J. Abrams, and then you use the J.J. Abrams disc for cup holders.
I figure you just, go out and like crunch them, burn them, whatever you do something to destroy them.
The actual joke is you do cocaine off those, but I don't do cocaine, so it doesn't apply to me. Also, what a wild ride just being coked out of your head watching Star Trek movies, right? Well, Kwon has been captured, and now that he's been captured, they've been looking at all the things that he did before he was captured.
Kwon converted illicit funds from Luna to Bitcoin, at least according to South Korean prosecutors.
Which means they still can't get them. They're out there in a wallet. Be one of those wallets that just never gets accessed again.
Is it going to be like the bus locker? It's like, oh, this is this locker at this bus station.
That also is probably not going to be good for his defense. Why would you do that? Unless you're trying to avoid the law. And of course, a lot of stories about libraries.
Yeah.
There's a big, the battleground of the library in politics is big right now. And we've learned about all of these, like we had the big ruling against archive.org, which was just depressing.
We need libraries.
Now we have a little bit more of an in-your-face version of the free library, and they're not backing down.
Z Library plans to let users share physical books through Z Points. This is good, but this is bad because the copyright industry is going to point to this and say, look at this. And they'll point to it in a good way and say, we don't need libraries because this exists, when this is probably not going to be anywhere near as good as the library. But they'll also look at it in a bad way and see, look at these miscreant scofflaws doing this.
So they're already doing the digital versions, but now they say they want to do actual books. And somehow you can give up your books that you don't want and get Z points, which will then allow you to use your Z points to get books that you do want, much like a library system, just turn around. And they talked about, it's like, well, what do you have in physical locations? How's that going to work? Going to be a locker, whatever? And they're like, we'd like to use just libraries. We'll send the books to the libraries if they'll play ball with this situation. But like you say, no way that happens.
Have you seen I love it when people do this in little neighborhoods where they have like the little book.
The
box.
little library.
Yeah.
That's actually like a company or I don't know if they're a company, maybe a nonprofit. They mentioned them here.
Yeah. People do that in just neighborhoods. I mean, not necessarily affiliated with anyone.
You should start one out in there.
Out in the holler. Yeah. One of the neighborhoods we looked at before we moved out to where we did had one. There was one for like the community kids.
There's one down here outside of a church.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's affiliated with the main thing or whatever.
Probably not.
Here's a terrifying thing. And when you read this article, it turns out this is not the only time this happens. Big services that do this kind of like geolocation, find my thing, they have bugs. And that can lead to really horrific things.
Texas sheriff warns would-be Find My iPhone detectives about going to Richmond man's doorstep. So for whatever reason, there's a bug in Find My iPhone that sends a lot of people, when the battery's dying, to this one guy's house.
Sucks to
And
fuck.
they're angry when they get there because they think that he stole their iPhones. And he tries to explain it to them, and some of them won't leave. So they've made a press release. It's like, look, if he tells you to leave and you don't, you are trespassing. This man does not have your phone.
What if it's just a cover? What if he does have their
I was
phone?
just about to say that. How great if he just had a basement full of iPhones.
He doesn't even sell them. He just collects them.
He keeps them plugged in.
Yeah.
So that they can lure people in.
And they're constantly buzzing, but it's like music to him.
That'd be the best end of that story, but I don't think that's where it's going to go.
No.
They also point out that some other stuff led to people getting shot. Yeah. Some old woman got swatted because of this, and it was just these stupid errors. At Microsoft, they are focusing on the Xbox as their big gaming console and everything. And this last version, they seemed like they opened it up a little bit more than the ones in the past. Turns out that was just a mistake.
Microsoft crackdown disables emulators downloaded to Xbox consoles. A separate Xbox developer mode workaround still enables that for now. The coming Nintendo apocalypse is upon us.
So you see this, they have discovered that you're using an emulator. They're shutting you down.
The apologists say, oh, you can still use developer mode. I say, abandon consoles. Embrace free computing.
When I got the emulators running on that original modded Xbox in college, that was the greatest thing ever. Everybody loved that. What a beautiful time.
Gabe's right. Piracy is more often a distribution problem than an economic problem.
I know I'm not paying for those 8-bit games ever again.
I've already paid for them like 2 or 3 times now.
And Nintendo's like, yeah, that's worth $8, bro.
No one wants to play that. Someone might be willing to pay $8 to have 10 minutes of nostalgia, but no one wants to say, I'm going to play Duck Hunt in 2023 unironically.
Well, I think you're wrong about that because people are paying. They're making money from them. And you know who's not making money? Twitter. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
they're not doing very well. They're looking at any way they can.
Twitter partners with eToro to let users trade stocks and crypto as Musk pushes app into finance.
Is that why the logo was a Doge for like a week straight?
No, I think that really was just a meme he was doing.
Or, prosecutors could say that was manipulating stock or
Yeah.
manipulating a financial instrument.
Well, at first it was like the day after April Fool's. It was like, was it just a late April Fool's joke? But then it stayed up for a while.
I think the idea here is eToro is one of these companies. I've seen several companies doing this now. Of course, we talked about this, where they will let you follow someone, not necessarily someone who wants you to be doing it, and trade exactly what they're trading, like Nancy Pelosi, who also, Nancy just did a bunch of new trades. Did you see that?
Yeah. I was surprised at what she dumped.
So, if you see somebody doing like meme stocks on Twitter, you'll be able to click and immediately do what they tell you to do, which would be a terrible idea. But I'm sure Mr. Musk will get a piece of every transaction there. And the attack, the supply chain attacks, one of the vectors there, one of the ways that people seem to be duping people is to pretend to be somebody that they're not on LinkedIn. And nobody really knows who the chief financial officer of, what Nvidia is. They just believe it.
LinkedIn is working on finding ways to help you verify your job because that's a fraud in this timeline.
They list 3 versions, 2 of which are these services that do this kind of thing. But the first one is so easy. I mean, remember when Facebook required you to be a college student?
Yeah.
The way they verified that is they would send you an email and it had to be at that college's domain. Not hard to do. But LinkedIn took this long to figure that out. And Substack and Twitter, they went to war. Mr. Musk, it's such a wild ride. Did you guys see the BBC interview?
Mm-mm.
You got to watch the BBC interview of Elon Musk. Because I was kind of getting back on his side there.
He's a moron.
Well, he's a moron, but he was less of a moron than the BBC reporter. By a long shot. But then he does this, and it's like, no, he's the worst person ever.
Yeah.
Substack launches its Twitter-like notes just days after Twitter throttled Substack links.
I went and looked at this, and it does look like just a clone of Twitter.
Also,
Easy.
he has now turned on Matt Taibbi of the Twitter Files, and Matt Taibbi has apparently been like the ultimate level of shadow ban, where he thought his account had been shut down completely, but he's just been shadow banned so hard that you can't search him and he'll never show up on your timeline. If you go directly to his Twitter, it's apparently still there, but otherwise the system just black holes him. He also had a really shameful interview. I can't remember who he did it with, but he was defending Elon Musk right before this. That's like, bro, don't ever trust that man. You can only get burned by trusting Elon Musk. Well, I guess you could also get some money, maybe. And here's a tragic cautionary tale about social media. It's difficult to stand out. There's lots of pretty girls, and there's lots of pretty girls with their tops off. You got to take it to the next level, but be careful.
Instagram supermodel passes away after hitting a lamppost while hanging out a car window. Ooh.
So you can see the screenshot here. She was putting on a sexy pose, topless, hanging out the car window. And apparently the driver was not paying enough attention. He drove her into a lamppost.
Didn't she have a son? Didn't that article say she have a son?
Yeah, she had a son. Rip.
How fast were they traveling if it
I don't think you'd have to be even traveling that fast, right?
to knock someone out like that?
A 15 mile per hour blow to a lamppost with your head, that'd probably kill you.
Yeah.
Dark.
I thought that was going to go in nonsense, but I guess Instagram, it's social.
Yeah. And Hong Kong is the cautionary tale, right? That's probably the reason that Taiwan knows better than to trust.
Yeah, the pendulum definitely swung the other way after seeing what happened in Hong Kong.
I think not only did it swing, but after it swung the other way, it was removed. So
It's just pegged in the strongly negative.
will never swing again. But the problem is the people of Hong Kong aren't stupid. They know what happened. They're angry about it. They can't really voice it because they're afraid, but they're not going to trust the new leaders. But oh boy, do they want them to.
Hong Kong spends $165,600 on a YouTube video, but it nets 4,000 views.
I'm not sure who the audience was. I watched the video. It felt almost like they're trying to attract like businesses and tourists, but
Young people is who they're trying to target here.
but it's apparently a wildly expensive city. I included a video, I think, in the list of links that was like the cage homes in Hong Kong.
Yeah, those were wild. The well, it was how many square feet?
Oh, it was like 75. Like you literally just have like a little coffin of space in
I
some
was
of those
impressed.
places.
I was impressed by how much stuff they managed to get in there just by hanging it from the walls.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of them, I think, are around 200, 250 bucks a month.
I don't think life has improved since China took over.
No, I think those are still very much a thing.
The engagement challenge? ... Question mark.
As if they can see this. Don't post; they'll catch you. Maybe mail a letter to one of your friends in another country.
Cast a letter into the sea.
Communicate with us in code. Tell us how it is in terms of like a CPU. It's like, oh, we're having a really centaur time. It's just
We're gonna forget that you mentioned that, and then we're gonna get a bunch of comments about CPU. It's like, what is that about?
Just put floating point error.
oh, it's really foofy over here. I don't understand.
We're having some predictive errors.
This branch was the wrong one.
Oh, that's sad. But on Friday, we'll talk about some more somewhat sad things, but also some fun animal stories.
Yay! All right, we'll see you then.